You're live.
I'm live now.
You are.
See? Technology, when you're trying to figure it out. Welcome to Dirty Kurt's Dugout, everybody. Thank not only our guest, Greg Zahn. We'll introduce him in a second, but thank our title sponsor, Hacienda Casablanca out in El Cajon, California. If you're from around here, you certainly know where that is. 700 North Johnson in El Cajon. If you want some great food, go see Cindy and Tony out there and tell them Dirty Kurt sent you. And also our good friends at Lacima Oil, where's my gas card? What happened to my gas card? Oh, no. Well, take my word for it. It's around here. And next week, out of this show, okay, how good is that? I'm letting you know that out of this show today with Greg Zahn. So in other words, somewhere in the next 30 to 40 minutes, you'll have a question on next week's show that will earn you a $100 Chevron gas card. It'll be in the context of what we talk about today. So guess what? I just saw a baseball game from Salt River Field in Scottsdale, Arizona. Of course, home of the Arizona Diamondbacks and Colorado Rockies, but it wasn't either of those teams. It was the Cal State Golden Bears against the University of Houston in the Andre Dawson tournament. Have you heard about that back east, Greg?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, Hawk and I were teammates in Florida in 1996. I've been paying attention to that. One of my favorite teammates ever. So anything he does, I'm going to support. But, yeah, and you know what? It's funny. I've been seeing a whole bunch of memes out there, like, you know, because of the lockout and everything. That everybody's like, hey, play more college baseball. Absolutely. Put more baseball on there. I don't care if it's high school, college ball, whatever. Just put baseball on the television somewhere.
Well, there's another game to follow up. The Cal State Golden Bears won the game 4-2 against University of Houston Cougars. And I believe San Diego State University is playing the next game against the TCU Horned Frogs. So I'm looking forward to seeing these games. I love to watch them. My kid's up at a junior college in Orange County, and I can't wait to get to those games. Latest, as far as the CBA, before I introduce Greg and get to him in a minute, here's the latest breaking news out of New York. Spring training's been postponed until at least March 5th. So if you bought tickets to games anywhere up to March 5th, you can get a refund or you can hold on to them. And I would assume they'll let you use them in games from that point on. All 30 owners, it's said, are intent on bringing baseball back to the players and the fans. Like I said, Greg and I are going to talk about that. If their nose is growing with that statement, because it's misinformation, just like there is all out in social media. We're going to try to straighten some of that out for you today. But first, let me introduce my guest today. He played for 9 teams over 16 seasons. The thing I learned today was your career almost paralleled Tony Clark's. I mean, you guys were around the same years, the same time. Greg won a world championship in 1997 with my hometown team, the Miami Marlins. I'm repping Miami-Dade today. I went down to Miami-Dade Junior College back a long time ago.
Played for Charlie Green.
Personality for Sportsnet in Canada. And Greg Zahn, I welcome you to the show. Dirty Kurt's Dugout. How you doing?
I'm great. Sorry to interrupt you. You didn't play for Charlie Green's dad, did you?
You know, I just talked to Charlie yesterday. I got an email saying that I met Charlie for the first time at an alumni event down in Miami about 3 months ago. And no, I didn't play for him. I played for Demi Maneri.
Okay, yeah, because Charlie and I played on Team USA together in 1989. He and I were the catchers on that ball club. But, you know, Charlie, he was a really good player. He's working in, obviously, you know, he's working in the Brewers organization. Quality instructor. Very few of those kind of guys left in the game, actual guys that played ball that understand professional baseball, not softball, not amateur baseball, pro baseball. Yeah, Charlie, I'm a big fan of his, but whenever I hear the words Miami-Dade, I'm like, yo, Charlie Green. But what a great program. Holy smokes. Like rivaling some of the best D1 programs in the country. That they definitely put out some ball players, that's for sure.
We at one time, when I say we, I'm talking about Miami-Dade North, which was the only campus at the time. There was one time in the late 70s that we had more players at the major league level than any major D1 program in the country.
Yeah. Yeah, it does.
Marty, Mickey Rivers, Bucky Dent, myself. Steve Carlton went out for the team and didn't make it, so he signed with the Cardinals. Proves how
yeah, Bucky was one of my coaches when I was with the Rangers. Quality baseball guy. Obviously, we all know about the iconic moment of the home run in Boston at Fenway, in the what is it? The play-in game or the decider, whatever you want to call it. But yeah, just tremendous history at Miami-Dade. I'm from California, and the junior college kind of lower rung. When I say lower rung, I mean lower than D1. The pedigree of the players coming out of those two states, like holy smokes, like you can't even. It doesn't get better than that. And yeah, so it's fun for me to hear the stories, etc. I mean, I signed out of high school. I was one of those guys on the fast track going to University of Texas. Had a full ride to University of Texas, but ended up wanting to play pro ball because I grew up in a pro baseball family. So it was like, hey, let's go sign and get busy getting to work with the wood bat. And but still, a lot of respect for those coaches, a lot of respect for those programs and the players that came out of them. It's fun to listen to the names, just like you said. Some of those are like ridiculous names.
The funny thing that came out of my time at Dade North was Deming Maneri, who has since passed away a couple of years ago. There was a little 9-year-old kid that used to run around our dugout all the time. He became head coach at LSU University, Paul Maneri, and he just retired a couple of years ago. And it was a heck of a program. It really was. And they're continuing. You mentioned Charlie Green. Well, I mentioned something about a guy whose career paralleled yours in Tony Clark. Tony Clark, of course, the executive director of the Major League Baseball Players Association. Yeah. And after your career was over, you stayed in it as an analyst and an announcer for Sportsnet. What are the players' opinion of Tony Clark? Because I don't know him personally.
You know what? It's not good. The leadership, I can tell you right now, the deal that they signed, the last collective bargaining agreement, that was his baby. The fact that he allowed players to abandon the core issues in search of creature comforts, and we're talking about stuff as trivial as a massage therapist that travels on the road, macrobiotic chefs, etc. You're talking about guys who make a minimum of $500,000 a year. You can afford to pay your own way through lunch and dinner. You can afford to buy a massage therapist. And you expect the team to pay for this stuff, but you're going to go ahead and abandon all of the core values, the core issues that your generation, Kurt, fought for, my generation fought for, my Uncle Rick Dempsey's generation fought for. Are you kidding me? You're talking about a bunch of softies. And the fact that Tony allowed this to happen on his watch, give me a break. And then, so I do a little bit of deep diving on this guy that I played ball against, this guy that I ran into for the first time ever in 1990 in Bristol, Tennessee as a first-round draft pick of the Detroit Tigers. And I find out later in my life, and this is secondhand information, but I'm pretty sure we can get verification, that this guy voted against compensation after winning a World Series for the clubhouse staff. You've probably seen those shares meetings. You've heard of them. But the fact that a player making seven figures votes against compensating the clubhouse staff, the trainers, the guys that work for pennies compared to the players that are there twice as long every single day as we are as players, and you vote against compensating those guys in a shares meeting? That's all I need to know about a dude. Come on. Somebody call me and tell me that I'm wrong, because I've heard it from multiple sources that went down. And I can tell you right now, based on that garbage deal that those guys signed last time, what do you think the owners are going to do? They smell blood in the water. They can see it. They know the players are weak. They're soft. And then what are you going to do? Are they going to give back everything that the players gave to them in the last CBA? No chance. This is going to last a while. The owners are emboldened. They're powerful. For the first time in any negotiations, they are winning. The players have beaten them every single time prior to this. Now the owners are winning. They're not giving in.
Well, the owners are supposedly going to send 4 representatives to New York, and starting Monday, where both sides are going to sit down on a daily basis. I believe Hal Steinbrenner, Mr. Henry from the Boston Red Sox, the ownership from the Colorado Rockies, and also Ron Fowler, who's one of the minority owners out here in San Diego. He served on the committee to negotiate the last collective bargaining agreement. It's funny that you mentioned that. I heard the same thing. We've talked about how players vote for World Series shares on this program before, and it's pretty cutthroat, but just the same. So the first player that I had speak up about and against Tony Clark was a big free agent guy that came here to San Diego in the mid 2000s. It was 2015. He came here, so you can probably figure it out. But I was really surprised about all the bad things that he had to say about him. And then that new CBA wasn't even signed until the following year, which gave him even more ammunition to go after this guy. And I'm looking at this negotiation being a situation where Tony Clark's fighting for his job. I mean, if this negotiation doesn't go a little more smoother, at least the players can see that there's attempts being made, and that a lot of the things that we're reading from the media out there are coming from the ownership side. So that's where people have to tune into shows like this one, so that you can get a complete look at, I'm going to call a spade a spade. This guy that's on my show today, Greg Zahn, calls a spade a spade. If there's something to be said about the Players Association not doing the right thing or going the right way, we're going to let you know about it. But also, we're not going to be threatened by Major League Baseball that we're going to be taken off the air or we're going to lose our job because of something negative that we might say against them. So I'm just hoping that both sides get to the bargaining table on Monday. As I said at the beginning of this show, all spring training games have been postponed until at least March 5th. And Major League Baseball came out with a statement today saying that because of the CBA not being able to be negotiated, they have to postpone spring training. I tell you what, it didn't take long where the Players Association came back quickly to let everybody out there know. And this is really the first time that I've really seen the Players Association make this statement, Greg, is that the CBA is not the cause of the players not being at spring training. Lockout is the reason that the players are not in spring training. They could end that lockout today, get people to spring training, and continue to negotiate. So I'm going to put that out there. Greg knows that. He's going to put that out there. And for all the people out there that think this lockout is the fault of the players, it's really not. I mean, if you want to say, well, it's their fault because they didn't sign the CBA, okay, I'll give you that. But it's not because the CBA is not signed. The lockout can be ended. The lockout is called by the owners, not by the Players Association. And the players they'll go to spring training and start working out and continue the negotiations. They've said that up until now. I want to welcome Terrance, one of our viewers and listeners that's on here all the time. He's a big Dodger fan up in LA, and I still love him, even though he's a Dodger fan. Yeah, I know Greg played with the Dodgers, played with 9 teams. We played for 15 teams.
I grew up 10 minutes from the stadium. I'm a Dodgers fan, even though, believe it or not, I don't mean to correct you on your own show, but I never did play for the Dodgers. You're thinking of Jeff's is on, not Greg's on. It's okay though.
Oh, well,
everybody else.
I was just going to say that.
No,
I was just going to say that. I don't know. I don't have a list in front of me, so I pulled it out.
Too long to worry about. But yeah. you bring up a fantastic point. These players, they would go back to work under the old BS CBA, that ridiculous document they signed the last go round 5 years ago. And then they go and they bitch and moan about free agent markets and this and that and service time manipulation. I'm like, you idiots gave them that power. You're not smart. You were more worried about your creature comforts than you were about making a living and setting it up for the generation to follow you the way that everybody before you, before me, going all the way back to Curt Flood did for this game. Pardon me, but these guys are soft. Yes, they would go back to work in a heartbeat, and and you know what? Hilarious that they would. It's just funny to me that the owners, and everybody's mad at the owners. Don't be mad at the owners. All they're doing is what they should do as business people. When you've got the hammer, you use it. The players gave them the hammer in the last collective bargaining agreement. I guarantee you, the day that the Players Association agreed to the last CBA, all 30 owners collectively started laughing at them. They were like, oh my God, I can't wait till 5 years from now when we get to smack these idiots around again. They did it to themselves. I don't feel sorry for the players at all, because let me tell you, I was a player rep. I was on the executive subcommittee. I'm typically one of those guys that says, I laugh at people when they say, oh, baseball players are overpaid. Really? What do the 750 best people in the world in any industry make? Ask yourself that question. Typically, I don't care when ownership is like, oh, these guys make too much money. No, they don't, because it's a $9.5 billion industry. And if you split it right down the middle, every team makes a pile. Every player makes $6 million. If you just equally distribute it amongst 1,000 baseball players.
That's far from the facts.
I get it, but it's a joke. These people are just absolutely insane. But the fact that the players gave so far in the last time, this is what they've done. You made your bed, you lie in it. Watch what the owners are going to do to these players. They're going to get exactly what they want, or they're going to leave it closed. At the end of the day, they're not going to give in. The ownership will not blink. Watch the players blink. They're going to give in further. Watch. Especially under Tony's leadership, because they already did it once. Why wouldn't they expect him to do it again?
I think there's some pretty guys with their feet in the sand, feet in the dirt, already sunk in with concrete, that like Scherzer. I think Scherzer is, who the hell is that?
That's me. That's
actually the Padres. Oh my God. I can't believe
Yeah. From my I retired in spring training with the Padres because I knew their pitching staff was going to suck. in 2011. I couldn't do it anymore. I was like,
so
nah,
you never really stepped on a major in a major league game for the Padres.
No, I played one spring training game. So I was retired. I was mentally gone. Brad Ausmus and Mark Loretta called me. So two former teammates. Mark and I played high school ball together. And then we got a chance to play together for the Astros. They both called me. They said, hey, listen, Zonnie, you want to come be Hundley's backup, play once a week, live in San Diego, et cetera, et cetera. I'm like, guys, I just had shoulder reconstruction. I'm not even contemplating a comeback. I'm done. And they're like, nah, fuck it. Let's go. Excuse my language. Sorry. I don't know if we're allowed to cuss on the show. They go, no, dude, we'll pay you like $800K. Come here. You can bet you can play once a week. You'll be Hot Rod's freaking backup. I'm like, all right, whatever. I'll give it a shot. So I hustle. I go and I try to get myself into shape. I'm like a week behind schedule. This is a funny story. So I go and I play a game, and I'm catching, and Matt Latos is pitching that day. And he's bouncing splitter after splitter after splitter, and we're playing the Oakland A's. I'm just getting beat up. I blocked like 30 balls in the first 2 innings. And so Kurt Suzuki comes to the plate. He goes, what's up, Zoner? I go, oh, Zook. I go, I'm getting beat up. He goes, yeah, they don't got a whole lot of respect for the old man, do they? I said, nah. I said, but don't worry. I'm going to retire after this game. He goes, yeah, right. They'll be ripping it off your back. So I walk into Buddy Black's office after the game. I said, Buddy, I'm done. I go, I'm retiring. I can't take this anymore. He goes, really? I said, yeah. I go, I'm out. And so fast forward like 3 months, opening like month of whatever, Oakland comes to Toronto. I'm doing the broadcast. And I'm standing around home plate at batting practice, and Kurt comes running out of the dugout. He goes, you weren't freaking kidding. You retired after that game. I said, yeah, dude. I said, I was mentally beat up. I said, the idea of me at age 40 holding somebody's hand that's like 6'4", throwing 95 miles an hour and doesn't have any confidence. And I'm telling him when he's making $10, $15 million a year, how pretty he is and how good his fastball is. I said, I just couldn't do it anymore. I had enough. I was out. He goes, you weren't lying. I said, nope. I told you I retired that day. And I did. And I got in my car after that. I told the clubhouse guy, I said, listen, send me my stuff. Don't send me my stuff. I don't care. But I'm out. And I got in my car and I drove 100 miles an hour for 2 straight days to Toronto. Negotiated my network deal, hired an agent, started my broadcast career in 2 days. Hilarious. Goodbye. I'm out.
So your first year in professional ball was 1995, which puts you in class 9, right?
Yeah, big leagues, yeah.
Which you're in class 9 because class 9 started after the 92 season.
Yes.
How much of an increase have you seen in that pension plan from that time until now?
Ooh, you know what? Like I started collecting it. I'm 50 now. I've been collecting for 5 years now. I've seen my number go up about $300 or $400 a month. You know, it's always like, and I got penalized because I started taking it at 45.
Right.
But it's always been good, but I've seen it go up about $300-400 a month since I started.
No, that's not including the investment part of our checks.
No, I got out of that a long time ago. I'm a financial planner now myself, so I took over that for myself. I got my money out of Vanguard, you know, the company that does all that stuff. I got out of that part of it, and I was like, look, I'll take care of it myself.
So there's 2 portions of my check, a fixed and a variable.
Yes.
My variable is much higher than the class 9 guys.
Yes.
Are you telling me that we can call the benefit plan and tell them that we no longer want to put that variable into that fund every year?
It's my impression that you can do whatever you want with your variable. You could take it over if you wanted to. I got out of that a long time ago. I didn't want somebody else making the decisions for me. I wanted.
I got to tell you something, folks. The more former players talk, the more we find out about our pension plan and all of the benefits that are associated with it, because it is so confusing.
Yeah, that's what it's supposed to be.
It is unbelievable how confusing.
You're supposed to not know what you're doing because they want to keep you in the dark. They want to make sure that you don't understand what your rights are, what you have going on. At the end of the day, it's your money. You should be able to do what you want with it. Like I said, I took my money out of the Vanguard portion of it. I don't know, probably, when I retired like 10 years ago, and I started handling it myself. I just recently became a licensed portfolio manager. But my guy was taking care of that for me a while ago. I was like, yeah, these are smarter people than I don't want to be in some plan with a bunch of knuckleheads. And so they took over it for me. I don't know 100%, but I'm guessing, Kurt, if you want to take your variable portion out of your thing and start handling it yourself, find out. And if you do, hey, call me. I'll take care of it for you.
So I've got to ask you this. I mean, I wasn't planning on asking you this, but are the people that do the investing with the billions of dollars that we have, by the way,
yes,
in that part of the plan, in your estimation, doing a good job?
Yeah, ish. I mean, look, people like Vanguard, people like, all these big names that you hear out there, they don't stay in business because they're stupid. But are they getting you the best return that you can possibly get? Probably not. As I said, I let my guy handle it because, I mean, he's been my guy for 25 years. This is the same guy that hired me. I am a 50-year-old protege. And so I've never lost a dime. No matter what's happened in the market for the last 25 years, I've never had a down year. So when I look at my guy, I think he's a rock star because a lot of people have had these, seriously up and down years. But like Vanguard, and like I said, that's the plan that our money was with when I opted out. They're not stupid, but do they generate the best returns? Probably not. They're real conservative. That's the thing. When you're dealing with unions, they don't want sexy. They want stable, solid. So you're going to get lower returns. Does it mean that you can't make a move and get better returns with a little bit more risk? Absolutely, you can. I'm guessing that if you and I are talking about the same things, when you're talking about your variable part, your Vanguard portion, I think that's probably still the company that you're with, then yes, you can opt out at some point. I have to believe, especially, I mean, I'm 50 now. You're probably 52, 55. I don't know. Yeah, there you go. So you got options. I mean, you should have options. It's your money. You can tell them what you want to do with it. They can't keep you hostage forever. So
I'm going to check into that. That's very, very interesting. The one thing that I did find out, because Greg and I, for all of you out there, that maybe just tuned in, Greg Zahn is my guest. Greg Vaughn, we're going to have in a couple of weeks. So that's why I had his name on my mind. And we actually met through a Facebook group called the MLB Alum.
Yeah.
And I put that Facebook group together because of all the misinformation and all of the non-information that was going on out there within the ranks of alumni in the Major League Baseball world. I mean, it's crazy. I literally talked to a couple of kids that are in your class 9. I'm in class 8, that are in class 9 that have, one of them had like 3/4 of a year of service. One of them had a little over a year. They didn't realize they had a pension coming. Can you even believe that? That's crazy to me.
They don't tell people everything that's going on. They don't want you to know. There's so much money in those accounts. Like, look, I always look at it like this. Like when I look at the NFL, I look at these guys and I go, oh God, what a bunch of whiners. You get $20 million signing bonus for a reason, because you know that you're going to go out there every Sunday If you're a running back, it's like being in 30 car crashes in one day. You trade your flesh for money. It's a short, truncated timetable. It's why I'll never, ever begrudge any baseball player for getting every last dime he can get in that short amount of time that he's got to get it. You look at the situation and you understand the billions of dollars. Like I said, I've done the math a bunch of times. I've made it the most simple argument that you can possibly make. If you take $9.5 billion and you split it right down the middle, give $4.25 billion to 30 different teams, do the math, that's all profit. Take $4.25 billion, give it to the Players Association, and let them split it up however they want. If they ended up splitting it up equally, it's about $6 million per kid. When you hear those numbers, it's staggering. Don't even get me started on the guys like Max Scherzer and Verlander and Clayton Kershaw. They're making $30-40 million to pitch 5.5 innings to throw 80 pitches. How in the world, in a game where all they try to do is minimize player salaries, have they not gone back to these premium thoroughbred pitchers and said, hey, bro, we're not going to let you pitch more than 80. We're not going to let you see the lineup 3 times. So we're going to half your salary. Instead of 40 max, you're getting 20.
You talk about the 6 million, and I just saw something. I'm going to reach up here for a minute. Somebody out there is going to win this $100 gas card based on something that Greg or I said today, or a point that we made. Some of the misinformation out there to coincide with what you just talked about is 71%. When they talk about the millionaires versus the billionaires, they talk about the average major league salary being a little over $4 million. Folks, that's very, very misleading. And I'll tell you why. 71% of all major league players make less than $1 million.
Yep.
71%. 66% make less than $600,000. And 16% make less than 100. If you're wondering how that's happening, these are the guys that you see bouncing up and down all year long, from the big league club to the AAA club. And that's all part of the percentages. So look into the numbers. There's no sides to take here. We all want baseball to come back. Be pissed off at both sides if you want to, but don't take one side or the other, because it's really not fair. It's not fair to either side to take one or the other. No. Are there owners that are worth $1 billion out there? Sure, there are. But you know what? If your house is worth $500,000 or $1 million, that doesn't make you a millionaire until you sell it for $1 million and you put that money in the bank. So most of these owners, I would think, are probably not flat out billionaires. They certainly have multi-millions of dollars, but they're not going to be billionaires until they sell the franchise. And then they've got 20, 25 partners to divide up. So I'm not sticking up for the owners here by any means. And I will stick up for the players because it was part of my life for so long. I'm going to look at certain things with rose-colored glasses, and I'm going to say, that stinks, like the hogwash that I read with the statement from Major League Baseball today, saying that the CBA, because the CBA is not signed, the players aren't in spring training. It's just not true, folks. It's absolutely not true. The players could be in spring training. It's up to the owners. They're the ones that lock the players out. And after Greg leaves us, I'm going to be going over a couple of other things that in regards to the collective bargaining agreement. But let me ask you one thing before I do let you go, Greg. If you were a commissioner of baseball just today for 2 hours and you could make one change, what would it be?
Wow. One change. Do I get a blanket change? I would.
Sure.
Well, I would just undo everything that I've done. If I'm Rob Manfred, I would undo everything I've done as the commissioner of baseball. This is the worst commissioner that has ever been in the job in the history of the game. He's a clown. The clown and the clown shoes measures that he's trying to do with regards to robot umpires and all these dumb things that he's instituting. The game was perfect. The game was perfect when you and I played it. You know what? I get it that people don't have the attention span that they once had, but holy smokes, leave the game alone. No pitch clocks and all this other knucklehead stuff. Like, give me a break, dude. This is a perfect game. Undo all of the things that you've tried to do. Get rid of this stupid can't break up a double play, can't block the plate. Look, if you're too weak to see the carnage, look away. Turn the channel. I love, like, I literally, like, I'm a bigger guy now, but I was at my rookie year, I was 5'10", 165, Kurt, but I would hang in there against the biggest, strongest guys rounding third to block the plate when I was 0 for 4 to try to make a difference for my ball club. I'd go into second base and try to punt a middle infielder to make a difference, to get Chase Utley to throw the ball into the freaking stands. We already knew who the soft players were. We knew the umpires. We knew the soft players. Go in hard, wreck somebody's life, win a ball game, even if you're 0 for 4. He needs to stop with all these measures. So if I'm the commissioner and I had one thing to do, I would undo everything that Rob Manfred's done since he took over that job. I'd undo everything. There you go.
That's good. I like that. I think it's for another show, but I think we can talk about bowling over the catcher and going into second base like Hal McRae and George Brett used to go into second base. I mean, I saw Hal McRae bring Willie Randolph almost in the left field, in the deep shortstop one night on a double play. It was the craziest thing I've ever seen. Greg, I want to thank you so much for being on the show. Let's do this again.
Yeah. Oh, I'm game. I'm old school. I love to talk about the game, and trust me, these kids, everybody calls them soft. They all these guys want to be coached. They want to be driven in the right way. I promise you. But this soft leadership that's going on in the game, this metric driven nonsense. Oh my goodness. Hire real baseball people to coach baseball players, not YouTube sensations, not guys that understand how to use, a Rapsodo. Give me a break. You and I both know how this game should be played, how it should be coached, and the people that coach it the best are the guys and gals that have actually done it before.
And with that, we will say goodbye to Greg Zahn. We certainly appreciate having you on this show, Craig. Thank you so much.
My pleasure. Thanks for having me. It was fun.
Let's do it again.
Yeah, you call me whenever.
Going back to what Greg just got through saying, if you're noticing about baseball, you are probably noticing that there's a lot of former players that are going into the college coaching ranks. I'm talking about good major league players, Lance Bergman for one, Jose Cruz Jr. for two, that are coaches of major D1 programs that should be coaching in professional baseball. Not taking anything away from the college ranks. But why are these guys all of a sudden moving to the college ranks? You know why? Because they're not getting called by Major League Baseball to coach in the professional ranks. And to me, that's a shame. Because as Greg just got through saying, they're calling kids that are Harvard grads, Yale grads, that are analytically inclined. And those are the guys that they're putting into coach's shoes, so to speak, that can't fill the role that the Bergmans and the Cruzes of the world can. Let's get back to collective bargaining agreement real quick. And Gary, I appreciate the ask. Would you scrap the shift? You know what? The shift's been going on for years. I mean, it really has. And I appreciate the question. To the extreme that they're doing it today, I still wouldn't scrap it. And I'll tell you why. Because if a player can adjust, and I'm talking about the hitter, if a hitter can adjust to 4 infielders being on one side of the infield and not being able to hit the ball the other way, then shame on him. I understand why they don't, because of launch angle and all of that, and the way they're being paid with hitting the ball out of the ballpark. But all you have to do is do that a couple of times by hitting the ball the other way, and you're going to push that shift back around the other way, therefore giving you more of a chance to drive the ball through the infield if you do happen to hit it on the ground. But that's only me, and I don't make the rules. So this is the 9th lockout/strike in the history of the Major League Baseball Players Association union against, if you want to look at it that way, the major league owners. The first one was back in 1972. The first strike in Major League history. And here's the issues of contention. And this is the reason that I'm going to list these for you. And we're going to finish the show with this segment. And then I'm going to say goodbye until next week. And hopefully we'll be able to bring you a conclusion, or at least a light at the end of the tunnel, because there's none right now. The only light there is that both sides are going to get together starting next week every day. Issues of contention in the 72 strike were pensions and salary arbitration. The 1973 lockout, salary arbitration. The 1976 lockout, the reserve clause. You understand what the reserve clause is, right? Think Curt Flood. The right of a player to offer himself to other teams. Or in other words, not to be a slave to the first team that signed him to his professional contract. The first professional contract that I ever signed was with the Cincinnati Reds. Didn't think about it because I was too excited about signing. But I was binded at that particular time to the Cincinnati Reds for the rest of my life. If I wanted to play professional baseball, it was going to be with the Cincinnati Reds or one of their minor league organizations. So the 76 lockout was because of the reserve clause. Curt Flood was blackballed from baseball and never seen again when he was traded from St. Louis Cardinals to the Philadelphia Phillies and didn't want to go. I wished every single one of you listening and watching now had an opportunity to meet Curt Flood. One of the nicest gentlemen you'll ever meet in your life. And he gave up his career for what he thought was right. You got to remember something. Curt Flood was a black man. He had already been through one form of slavery. Watched his parents and grandparents. When he was traded and didn't think it was right That's the way he looked at things. God rest his soul. He was such a great guy. So the 1980 strike, free agency and compensation for players lost in free agency. The 1981 strike, which there were games lost, middle of the season, free agency and compensation, again, for players lost. The 1985 strike, salary arbitration and minimum salary. You kind of see the way this is going. 1990 lockout, salary arbitration and minimum salary. The 94-95 strike, which was the worst of them all, free agency, salary arbitration, and minimum salary. Now, it's the same thing along with a few other things. And those other things are the reason that the union is standing firm on this. Service time manipulation, competitive integrity, or in other words, teams not tanking. We've heard that expression used. And a luxury tax. So as you can see, from 1972 until now, it's 50 years. I was involved in 6 lockouts or strikes in my career, 6 of the 9. So I have a special interest in all of that, on how things go, how they're being worked out, how I think it's a damn shame that come Monday, when both sides sit down, supposedly, and are going to meet every day, why it's taken so long. Because what they're taking away from us as baseball fans is not fair. Are there losses being had? Sure. There are veteran players, there are rookies that aren't going to make teams because of this negotiation. Because major league managers and the coaches aren't going to have the opportunity that they would have been afforded to look at these guys and to give them an opportunity. But because things are cut short, they're not going to get that opportunity. There's going to be free agents that are never going to be seen again. There's still 300 free agents out there. They're going to be written off. A lot of them are going to be written off. And then the fans. There's all this talk of you, the fan, now. I never saw the fan being talked about 2-3 weeks ago. It's all now. So you can point the finger at the other side. Like I said, nobody's at blame here. The only point that I'll make about that is that I'll start pointing fingers of blame when I see people that aren't attempting to negotiate in good faith. The time has come where both sides have to get together and get this thing done. Because as I said in the onset of the show, the first possible spring training game is going to be March 5th. Starting next week, if this thing isn't put to bed, the regular season is going to be in jeopardy. We certainly don't want to see that happen. Remember what I told you. from our friends at Lacima Oil. Next week's show. And I'm going to let you know exactly when it's going to be, starting Monday, when I hear the first little tidbits of stuff coming out of New York. I'm going to guess that it's going to be Thursday afternoon, but we will wait and see, because if something breaks, I'm going to come and I'm going to let you know. I want to thank everybody that joined into the show today, but don't forget this, because it will be your opportunity to win a $100 gas card on something that Greg and I talked about, or a tidbit from something that he or I said. So I hope you paid attention. And if you didn't, look the show over again and memorize it, and like us and click us and all the other good stuff that you do for podcasts, because I love doing this show with you. I like hearing from you. Again, Terrance, thank you. Gary Cooke, thank you very much for joining into the show and asking your questions. This is Kurt Bavacqua for Dirty Kurt's Dugout. I want to thank Tony and Cindy over at Hacienda again, and thank our good friends at Lacima Oil for the gas card that somebody is going to win next week. So until then, this is Kurt Bavacqua saying goodbye, everyone.